Hey, Retcon Raider here. Well, we're rapidly coming up on the end of 2018, so once again, it's time to take a belated look at how the channel's been doing. I've been at this for almost 2 years now, and I know I've said this before, but it really has been a very interesting experience. In a lot of ways, trying to run a YouTube channel is kind of like riding a roller coaster blindfolded. There are highs and lows, twists and turns, and while you might have a general idea of where things are headed, it's still going to end up catching you by surprise. That said, it does look like the channel is currently headed into a bit of a slump. We were already starting to trend downwards back in October, and that didn't really change in November. In fact, looking at the incomplete numbers for December, it's something that's not going to change in the immediate future, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. For now, let's stay focused on November. Now, overall, November was a very quiet month, and I think the numbers actually reflect that pretty well. According to the analytics, we ended up pulling in a net total of just under 300 new subscribers, and a little over 80,000 views throughout the month. Those are respectable numbers, but it is another pretty sharp drop-off of about 50% in overall subscriber gain and about 35% in total views. As usual, it is a little bit disappointing, but it's also not very surprising. We're still coming off the hype of Pathfinder Kingmaker, and I haven't really found any big new games to replace it with. It certainly doesn't help that the whole Google Plus crisis is apparently still ongoing, and it seems to be wreaking havoc with YouTube's notification and recommendation systems. On top of that, I've also been warned by multiple other YouTubers that things just tend to slow down around this time of year, as people find themselves preoccupied with the holidays in general. Of course, let's be honest here. As much as I'd like to point the finger at someone else, there's no denying that things have been moving pretty slowly lately, and that's mostly my own fault. I've had a small but slowly growing number of people warning me that while they really like my videos, I'm just not putting them out quickly enough to hold their interest. I can actually understand where they're coming from, but thus far, I just haven't been able to find a way to actually fix the problem. Look, I love playing games, especially strategy and role-playing games, and of course I still love talking about them too. Unfortunately, I also have a lot of other responsibilities that eat into my time, so it can be tricky to maintain a steady production schedule. I still try to find enough time to put out at least one video every 2 or 3 days, but I'll admit, it can be a pretty delicate balancing act, and even a minor setback can end up throwing my entire production schedule completely out of whack. For example, back in November, I ended up having some issues with my old mouse, a Logitech G302. It was an issue that should have been easy to resolve, at least in theory, but it ended up snowballing into a pretty sizable headache. Now, I won't bore you with the details, but the short version is the Logitech G302 apparently has a faulty microswitch assembly, or something to that effect. And over time, the buttons just stop working properly. That's obviously a pretty big problem when it comes to things like playing games, editing footage, or really, just about anything related to making videos in general. What I should have done was order a new mouse as soon as I realized there was a problem. Instead, I ended up putting it off for over a week in hopes that I could somehow fix the problem, despite the fact that pretty much everyone was telling me I was better off just buying a new one. Then, when I finally did end up ordering a new mouse, the shipment was delayed. It took an extra week to get to me, and the new mouse turned out to be a piece of garbage anyway, so I just ended up going out to Best Buy to grab a more functional replacement. Ultimately, what should have taken 1 day and $50 to resolve ended up turning into a 2-week ordeal that completely disrupted my production schedule, all because I wanted to save a couple of bucks. And even then, it still ended up costing me more money in the long run. I guess it's not all bad though. If I hadn't taken the extra time to research the problem I was having with my old G302, then I probably would have just ended up buying another one, since that's what I'm used to using. Then, I would have just ended up running into the same issue with the faulty microswitches another year or 2 down the line. Instead, I'm now getting used to my new mouse, a Razer Basilisk. It's actually the first Razer gaming product that I've ever owned, and so far, I like it. I can't really say I'm much of a connoisseur when it comes to precision gaming accessories, but it certainly seems to get the job done. And I really appreciate some of the more granular customization options it has to offer. Anyway, mouse issues aside, the other problem is that a lot of my current series just aren't pulling in the same sort of traffic that they used to. Don't get me wrong, it's natural to see interest wane from one episode to the next, but I've been seeing some sharper drop-offs than usual on a few of my series. Maybe I am just taking too long between each new episode, or maybe it really is some sort of recurring issue with the YouTube notification system. Either way, I'm not really sure what I can actually do to fix the problem, but as always, I'm certainly open to suggestions. For now though, I'm just hoping that things will start picking up again once we get through the holidays. We're not far from 2019 at this point, and we'll theoretically be starting the year with Backer Build 4 for Phoenix Point, so hopefully we'll be able to start building up some momentum. In the meantime, it'll really just be business as usual. I've enjoyed getting back to games like Phantom Doctrine and Darkest Dungeon, so you can be sure I'll be doing more episodes for both of those series in the immediate future. Likewise, I've also enjoyed Kingmaker and Mutant Year Zero, though I will admit the Kingmaker minis have gotten a little too distracting. I might need to reevaluate how I've been approaching them. At any rate, that pretty much covers everything from back in November. Like I said, it was a pretty quiet month. Of course, I don't really think that makes for a very interesting retrospective, so in the spirit of the season, I thought we'd round things out by showcasing a few pictures of my cats. Now, I've talked about my cats in the past, enough to at least confirm they exist anyway, but I've never actually gone into any significant detail. What can I say? While I do make videos on the internet, I'm actually a pretty private person, and I tend to closely guard the details of my mysterious and mind-numbingly boring existence. As far as you guys know, I'm just some weirdo with a robot voice who happens to like playing video games, and I'm pretty happy keeping it that way, at least for now. But I have been getting myself used to all sorts of things over the past couple of years, so I might as well start easing myself into this too. And hey, the internet was practically built on pictures of cute cats, so this seems like a pretty good place to start. That said, this little rogue is the Kaiser, the second youngest of my animal companions. I've had about a dozen cats throughout my lifetime, mostly strays or hand-me-downs, and Kaiser here is number 11. He's your standard short-haired domestic, about 3 years old, and the devourer of tiny plastic gaming accessories. I've actually had him since he was just 1 month old, making him the youngest cat I've ever adopted. That's led to some, interesting dynamics that I've never seen with any of my other cats. Most notably, because he was separated from his mother so early, he never really got used to the idea of living without her, so he's basically adopted me as the most suitable replacement. He follows me around the house, waits for me at the door whenever I go out, sleeps whenever I sleep, and he tries to eat whatever I eat, and failing that, he'll happily chew on expensive gaming accessories instead. He's also basically claimed my recording area as his personal territory, likely because it's where I tend to hang out the most. While the other cats are graciously allowed to visit the Kaiser's domain, there's no question that they're only here by the grace of his goodwill. I may end up introducing some of my other cats in future retrospectives, but for now, I thought I'd start with this little guy because he's the one you're most likely to end up hearing in some of my videos. Like I said, he's pretty needy, so on occasion, he'll wake up and if I'm not in his immediate line of sight, then he'll go prowling around the house, howling until he can reaffirm my existence. Anyway, I don't want this to turn into another cat channel, so let's move on for now. As usual, I'd like to wrap things up by giving thanks to you, the viewers, not only for watching my videos, but also for putting up with my increasingly erratic update schedule. Believe me, I'm not doing it on purpose, it just sort of happens on its own. But as always, I'm doing my best to get it back under control. In the meantime, it means the world to me that you keep coming back for more. I'd also like to give special thanks to my patrons, as well as the folks who have been kind enough to support me through PayPal or by sending me codes for various games. One of the main reasons I don't get bent out of shape by the wildly fluctuating analytics and unreliable ad revenue is thanks to people like them. The money that they donate on a monthly basis helps cover all the basic costs associated with keeping the channel running. So this is literally something that I wouldn't be able to keep doing without their support. So with that in mind, I'd like to give special thanks to all my honorary raiders from November: Adam Hall, Austin Fagan, Brad Quinn, Dimitri Foster, James Tremere, Mark Richards, Midnight Sun, Pontus Lundberg, Purge, and Stepan Lovasic. I'd also like to give extra special thanks to my veteran raiders from November: AdriRaven, Drakiith, Drunken Gunslinger, Forbidden One, IceApple23, Jonathan Tanner, Laura and Mike, Mildly Nuclear, Nazzul, Sir Skelibate, Tecumseh, Valinrook, and Woe77. Oh, and of course, special mention to Revenant and Rowan Church, who continue to be the only people crazy enough to maintain the titles of Raider Lord and Captain respectively. A lot of you guys have been with me since the very beginning, and as always, it's really important to me that you know just how much I really appreciate that. Of course, if you're a relative newcomer to the channel, or you're just a lurker who's looking to join the ranks of the Raiders, then feel free to check out the links to my PayPal or Patreon accounts down below. I know, I can't really afford to offer much in the way of rewards just yet, outside of offering my heartfelt thanks in videos like this one, but if the channel keeps growing, even if it's at a slower rate than expected, then who knows what the future might bring. At any rate, this is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, if you need to contact me for any reason, you can do it through the comment section on any of my videos, or you can reach me through my Facebook page, my Patreon account, or my official email address. As always, links are in the description.